name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we have my Make Your Myth Taker TBR. So this is a readathon that was created by A Frolic Through Fiction, and it is taking place throughout the entire month of June. One thing that I was really interested about in this TBR is that obviously we have our challenges that we have to go through. However, your challenges that you pick are basically helping you create a character based on the characters you would normally find in books, myths, that kind of stuff. So there were actually 4 different classes you could choose to be from, and then there were 4 different types of characters in each class, and there are 4 prompts of books that you have to read for your characterization. Now, I could not fully decide what I wanted to do, so I'm actually going to be dual classing, so I have 8 books to show you guys today instead of 4. Another interesting part of this readathon is that you do have to pick 1 book per prompt, and you are declaring your TBR. Once you have declared your TBR, you have to read those books in order for your prompts. The only way you're allowed to change it out is if you had picked a book for your TBR and you DNF'd it and decided that you needed to switch it out with something else. But otherwise, these are the books that I'm going to have to read for the Make Your Myth Taker readathon. I'm also going to leave all the information for the readathon down in the description below in case you do want to check that out, because she goes into a lot more detail than I do. And I'm just going to go through, I guess, 1 class and character first, and then the other, since like I said, I am going to be doing the dual classes. And the first one that I really wanted to do is in the Royal Court class, and it is the Monarch Path. The first prompt that I have for that one is to read a book with a queen main character. I was a little thrown by this at first just because I do have a couple books that have queen in the title. However, looking into the summaries, it looked more like the characters were maybe like princesses or something going up to be queen, so they weren't quite a queen yet. But I did find one that I'm pretty sure is definitely going to work. And that is going to be Isola Chapter 1 by Brendan Fletcher and Carl Kerschel. This is a graphic novel comic bind-up where apparently an evil spell has been cast over the Queen of Mar to turn her into a tiger. And our other main character is her captain of the guard, and they have to travel to the island of Isola to try to reverse it. So we do have a queen that is part of our main cast of characters. I don't know if she's a tiger throughout the entire thing or not, but I am very curious about this book. I've actually had it on my TBR for a while, and I love the art, so I'm very excited to read this one. Next, all of the characters in the royal court had to read a book with royal colors on the cover, which means we had to choose from red, purple, or gold. And so my book for that one is Honor Among Thieves by Rachel Kane and Anne Aguirre. I have read some books by Rachel Kane previously and really loved them. And this last month in May, I actually read an adult sci-fi romance book by Anne Aguirre. Absolutely loved it. One of my like new favorite books of like all time. And so I've had this one on my radar for a while, and because of that book that I read by Anne Aguirre, it just sort of pushed it over the edge and I have to read it like as soon as possible. This is a YA sci-fi series. I don't fully know everything. It says 100 were chosen, 1 will resist. That's very intriguing to me. Zara Cole has been in and out of New Detroit's rehab facilities for treatment of her antisocial behavior. So there's a crime, and she's recruited into the Honor as an elite team of humans selected by the Leviathan, a race of sentient alien ships, to explore the outer reaches of the universe as their passengers. I'm pretty sure this is LGBTQ in here as well, so I'm very excited about that. And yeah, I just absolutely have to read this because I'm a really big sci-fi fan, YA or adult, and that book that I read by Anne Aguirre pushed it over the edge. I have to read this. Then our third prompt was to read the highest rated book on my TBR. So what I did do is go through my Goodreads and just my TBR in general. I picked the highest rated book that was not a sequel, because I had some books that were very highly rated and were sequels. And the one that came up is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. So this is another YA sci-fi that I've been meaning to get to. It's also another purple sci-fi, so it fits the aesthetic perfectly. This, I do believe, is about a girl who wants to become a pilot. Yeah, since she was a little girl, she has imagined soaring skyward and proving her bravery, but her fate is intertwined with her father's, a pilot himself who was killed years ago when he abruptly deserted his team. I've heard nothing but good things about this book, and like I said, I've been a sucker for sci-fi lately, so I'm very excited about this one as well. Now, this is one of those things where I feel like you might need to go and watch the actual announcement video for Make Your Myth Taker, because Skyward for my book is a crossover prompt, and I did decide to cross over to the corresponding other class and character. So my last prompt is actually going to be from the Goddess track, and that is to randomize your TBR and then read that book. Now, I did that previously, and The Art of Being Normal by Lisa Williamson is the one that pulled up. This is a YA contemporary about LGBTQ stuff. I've had this on my TBR shelves for years, so I don't actually know anything else about it, but I think that's part of the reason why we had to randomize our TBR, to just pick a book that I might not have fully picked for myself otherwise. So this is the last one for the Queen/Goddess track. But then I also wanted to do the Oracle path for fun/story reasons. I don't know if I'm actually going to be trying to write my character's journey, only because I haven't written anything in a few years now, and I don't feel like I'm a writer like some other people are. I might try it, I might not, we shall see. But I also did decide I wanted to do the Oracle path, and for that, the first one is to go into a book blind. And I'm using Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power. This is actually a book I do have from NetGalley. It's going to be coming out in July, so I'm going to be reading it a little bit early. And I have not read anything by Rory Power yet, even though I do have Wilder Girls still on my TBR, just right down there. But I requested this a few months ago, was approved a couple months ago, but wanted to read it a little bit closer to release date, and I do not remember a single thing about what this book is about. So I'm fully going in blind. There's probably not very many reviews up for it on Goodreads or anything yet, because it has not been released. So I haven't looked into it at all lately, and that is what we're going with. It is an ebook, so it'll be easy to read at night, where I read a lot of my books after the baby has gone to bed. But that's the first one for the Oracle path. Then all of the characters that are sorcerers do have their second book the same, and that is to read a book with a foiled cover. And I'm going with this very shiny one called The Gospel of Loki by Joanne M. Harris. This is an adult fantasy, I'm assuming, based on Norse mythology, Loki, that kind of stuff. This is the same author that did Rune Marks, which is a YA fantasy with Norse mythology, which I absolutely loved. Read it a few times, but it came out like early 2000s, early 2010s potentially. And so I have had this actually, it's hardcover. I've owned this since it came out in hardcover. The copyright on this is 2014. So I've had this book for a while. I actually don't really know what it's about. And because this isn't history but mystery, my story, let's start with me for a change. Others have already had their chance to tell their version of events. This is mine. I'm calling it Lokabrenna, or in rough translation, the Gospel of Loki. Loki, that's me. Loki the Lightbringer, the misunderstood, the elusive, the handsome, and modest hero of this particular tissue of lies. Take it with a pinch of salt, but it's at least as true as the official version, and dare I say it, much more entertaining. So far, history, such as it is, has cast me in a rather unflattering role. Now it's my turn to take the stage. Let there be light. So that's From the back here again, very, very foily. Yeah, it's some sort of Tale of Loki. I don't know much else. It is a very short one. Like, Rune Marks was quite long from what I remember. And this one's, I think, under 300 pages, and it's adult. So we will see. I love this cover though, so I'm very, very excited for all the shininess. The third prompt for our Oracle category was to read a book about books/stories. This is another one that I had a really hard time figuring out what I wanted to do, but I decided we're going with Geekerella by Ashley Poston, partially because this is a like fandom interpretation of Cinderella, which is a retelling, obviously, of a story which is part of the myth-taker sort of modus operandi. They like to read retellings of myths and fairy tales and stuff like that. So I thought that would definitely fit. But I also believe it's about a classic sci-fi series. It has like a Comic-Con, and from what I looked up, it does talk about stories and stuff inside this. And I've been wanting to read this again for a while. This is a YA contemporary. I think it should be very quick to read. I also just like really love the cover, and I'm very, very excited for it. And then last but not least, I had to pick a 5-star prediction. And for this one, I'm going with another graphic novel. This is Die Volume 1 Fantasy Heartbreaker by Kieran Gillen. I have loved every single graphic novel, I guess comic bind-up, from Kieran Gillen, so I'm definitely thinking that this is going to be a 5-star prediction. This is also about like D&D. In the 90s, 6 teenagers disappeared into a fantasy role-playing game. Only 5 returned. Nearly 30 years later, these broken adults are dragged back to discover the game isn't finished with them yet. I am so excited for this. I think the concept is amazing. The art style, I feel like it's not my favorite, but I'm definitely gonna get used to it just because, yeah. I have to read this. I'm so very excited for it. I should stop flipping through it. Yes, I'm very excited. And I do feel like a comic bind-up graphic novel thing is going to help me read these 8 books, because one thing I have not mentioned yet is I want to do another readathon in June, and I have been having a very, very hard time finding books from this TBR and the team from that readathon that I want to do that actually overlap. So what I think I'm planning on doing in the month of June is reading these 8 books for my Make Your Myth Taker readathon in the first half of June, so the first 15 days. And then I think I'm going to be doing the TBR, which is basically another 8 books, for the other readathon in the second half of June, so the last 15 days. So these graphic novel comic bind-ups should definitely help keep me on track. It's not anything that I haven't done before, so I should be able to do this. But I definitely have a high opinion of myself to make sure I'm going to be able to read basically 16 books in the month of June. So keep an eye out for that TBR as well. If you guys liked this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you would like to see more videos. I do have videos up Mondays and Thursdays, so I will see you then. Bye!